Hello, and good evening. Welcome to Usapang Musiko episode 7 from season 2. Okay. Sorry for the delayed telecast of the other uh, stream with my guest, Pasta Groove, no? We encountered a bit of some inconveniences along the way, plus bad internet. So we had to reschedule, but for today's episode, I have something very, very important for everyone, especially during this time that we are learning new stuff. It's the time for us to learn new things, and we'll talk about those things, how important teachers are, and if you can do it on your own. No, that's the basic topic for today's video. So, with the light of technology, and YouTube in general has been filled with a lot of tutorials and those kind of things for musicians, not just for musicians. Of course, we have all these knowledge, information that is readily available for us to access whatever topics we want, not just in music, no? Even DIY stuff and cooking and basic life skills as well, no? Things that you don't really learn in school. It's all accessible because of technology. But is technology the best teacher, especially for music? Okay. So, it's not a general yes and no question, but it's something that we can expand on, and it's really going to be based on what you want to learn, how much you want to learn regarding a certain topic, and how much are you willing to give, how much energy, how much time, how much effort, how much passion, how much money, in terms of will you need extra lessons from professionals or other mentors, no? So it's very, very specific. We can't really generalize how much, I mean, the yes and no of it, but let's talk about the things that we can talk about regarding this topic. So basically, the learning of playing an instrument is music, right? But it's what we call, in a more specific term, applied music. So applying the things that we learn, for example, in the classroom, basic music theory, note reading, sight singing, those kinds of things, and we apply it to what we need to do. It's the same thing with physics, right? We talk about theories, we talk about formulas, we talk about these concepts, but in the long run, the main goal is for us to understand how the earth works. That's what physics is, right? So it's basically the same thing. When we apply the different techniques, the different concepts that we learned, the different theories that we understood, that is the topic of learning an instrument. It's applied music. So again, if we divide the two, we have music theory and applied music. So these two things are, of course, important for musicians. No, you can't just be good at one and be bad at the other. No, you can be good at playing. You can be good in theory as well. No, but you can't really take one away, because the wholeness of being a musician needs both. No, I'm not degrading those who don't know how to read, because music theory is not just that. It's much more than that. It's sometimes people who don't know how to read notes can still understand better, a deeper understanding of their music. They just don't have names for it. No. So I'm not giving them a bad rap. I'm just saying that they just don't know the names, for example, of the things or the concepts that they do. No? But basically, if you can apply your instrument, you might know concepts, but if you didn't formally study music theory, you don't know how to say these things, right? So that's just the difference, no? Now, how can you apply those things, no? Again, music needs a combination of your mind and body. The same with sports, diba? I will do an episode on sports and music, another show, in another time maybe. But let's talk about those similarities, right? We've talked about this before, and I just really want to push it, no, to make people aware that music is not just playing. There's a lot of nuances, a lot of deeper understanding between the mind and the body when it comes to music. The motions, no? These are very important things. Again, as a violinist, there are some movements that a normal person won't be able to do. A normal person doesn't have their hands too high or move their wrist like this, like so, left and right. No, you don't walk like that. You don't eat like that. You don't write like that. And the same thing as how they hold the violin. No, so basically these movements need time to learn, and of course everything is available on the internet. No, and that's a good thing and a bad thing, because a good thing is that the knowledge is free. No, it's accessible by everyone. With the click of your phone, you can learn any skill that you want. But it's also not a good thing in a way that you only see what they want you to see. No, it's not the clearest picture or the big picture. No? Of course, when somebody tells you that they're using their technique, it's just for them. No, I always tell my students that what works for you may not work for me, but we'll try to figure it out together. And that's what's missing. No? When you're studying alone, when you're studying online by yourself on your own, you don't get the feedback of a mentor or a teacher who knows exactly what they are doing. No? And that's a danger in a way, because what sometimes you don't really understand it just by seeing or just by looking at things. No? Since we all have different body types, the way my hand looks may be different from what it is supposed to be. No? Because I'm fat, because my hands are a bit more stocky than yours, it may not look the same. But the thing is, even though they may not look the same, if you're studying with me, I can make you understand it. The feeling of how it should work, or how those little motions can be beneficial for you, or how you can use your own motions with the same thing as me, but it looks different just because we have different body types, right? And that guidance is what's lacking. Of course, you can binge watch all tutorials of Perlman, for example. He has this masterclass, right? You can binge watch it, but if your basics aren't covered well enough, you won't be able to do as much as someone who finished or maybe finished a degree in music but wants to add more to his arsenal or understanding. So it will depend on the person who is watching. It will depend on the skills or the level you're in, whether it will be helpful for you or not. No? Because sometimes, of course, one of the biggest things a student wants to learn in violin is playing vibrato. No? Playing with vibrato. That's one of the biggest things a musician or a violinist, beginner violinist, wants to learn. And they just want that. They don't care about tone production. They don't care about note reading. They don't even care about bowing. But before you get to vibrato, right? Especially for those who have teachers, it takes you around 2-3 years before you get to that certain topic. But since it's already there, people like to take shortcuts, no? And it's dangerous in a way, because it makes you actually more prone to injury or more susceptible to injury just because you're trying out something. Again, music is movement of the body, right? For playing musical instruments, there's movement of your body. Now, if you don't know how to move your body properly, you might injure yourself. And I'm not talking about broken bones or broken arms. No, not like in sports. Injuries in music, in the music world, is actually, I think it's more career ending in a way. No? If you don't really take care of your body. Long term injuries are pretty bad. It gets to you. No? Once you get older, it gets worse and it gets worse. And it could be a hindrance in your growth, especially if you're just starting out. And that is the main problem here. If you want to learn something, I always tell people, if you want to learn something right. No, what do I mean by right? Get the right mentor, get the right teacher for you, no, and set your goals as well. No? We talked about these things, and I know you can even search the internet for every topic that you want in violin, and there will always be someone who can teach you that. But the problem is the feedback. No? What's the feedback? How can they guide you through it? No? Because even though they're talking or they're explaining it in detail, if they can see you, what you're doing, they can see how you're performing it, you won't really know if it's right or wrong. So the growth there will be quite slow because your pace is not guided properly, for example. For a lack of a better term. You're not guided properly. Because the proper guidance or the right guidance will always come from someone who has experienced this. No? So, if you really want to be good at something, get someone who's better than you and you know is someone you can trust, who can teach you his or her ways, right? Well, in life, everything naman, diba? In life, you need a mentor in order for you to succeed at something. If you want your pace to be faster, you need to get a teacher. Because if not, if you're gonna go in blindly, you will learn a few things, but you won't learn a lot. It will take you years to realize some things that the mentor or your teacher can just explain to you in a couple of minutes. Because you're not familiar with these movements, you're not familiar with the motions, you're not familiar with the theories, right? Of course, all these concepts will come from someone else because they already went through it. And then the thing is, that's the important thing about teachers is that it's one of one, especially for students, for one-on-one students. The way your teacher is teaching you can't be the same exact way as teaching other students because your learnings are different. And that's important to understand. How you learn something is going to be different, and how your teacher will approach that is going to be different as well. And that's one of the things technology can't replicate, no? As far as we are in now in terms of our technology, we still can't replicate that feedback. Even though maybe AI technology can trace, there's certain things that only humans can perceive. Like, even online classes, as long as there's a teacher, they can see it because they know what to expect from you for your movements, from the sound that you're making. So, yeah. But of course, if you don't want to get a teacher and you just want to play, nobody's here to stop you. You can do that. But understand that you can only learn up to an extent. And the mastery will be quite slow. Of course, it's just a hobby for you and you don't really want to spend much. Because of course, teachers or musicians spend their lives learning the craft. They also paid for their education. You have to pay for yours as well. No? Even though you can learn it for free, education still comes with a price. No? Of course, the time, the effort, the knowledge, the expertise. That's the things you're paying for. You're not just paying for 1 hour of their whole day. You're paying for the expertise, the time they spent, their understanding, their minds. You really can't put a price tag on those things. But of course, we're trying to live because money is a part of our lives. And basically, if you really want to be good at it, and you really want a career built around music, you really need to spend. Just that's an investment to yourself, because of course, when you learn music, it's lifelong. You don't expect to once you know something, you learn it, you'll know it forever. No? If you just hone your skills, hone your talent, it will eventually pay off in on itself. No? Not monetarily. It will depend on whether which career path you're choosing or whatever. But yeah. Now, if you just want, I think you can learn music theory, because music theory nga is, it's almost the same thing as understanding science in a way, because basic concepts are there. It's concrete. It can be written down, not like applied music where you can't write it down. No. It's just the perception of your ears and your eyes on that moment, and that's the difference, no? Because in applied music, once you play something, it ends there. So the feedback of the teacher that was watching you will be more important. But with music theory, of course, you can write it down, and it's concrete. It's almost factual, no? Of course, when you're learning the basic notes, of course, do will be do, no, and re will be re. No? Of course, it will depend on the clefs and stuff, no. But basically, you can't change that anymore. So, I guess if you want to really understand music theory, you don't need a teacher per se, the same way that you need a teacher from learning an instrument by itself. No? So those things are quite different. But of course, if you get a teacher from music theory, it's better. It's always better with a mentor. But I think it's more approachable for newbies to learn music theory on their own, as long as you're following someone who's good at explaining it. No? But again, if you really want to learn an instrument, get a teacher. That's the best, and that's the most important advice any musician will give you. No? It's like, it's the only thing. It's the only way, in a sense. No? Okay. Now, we get a lot of questions like, I'm already playing the guitar. Will I be able to learn the violin as quickly? The answer is yes and no. Because first of all, the guitar is different from the violin in more ways than one. The only similarities they have is that some are made of wood and have metal strings. But basically, everything is different. The way you hold it is different. The way you play it is different. So, no. Diba? It's a yes and a no. So, it will also depend on your background, on your musical background. Because maybe if you're reading notes in the guitar, some are the same with the notes of the violin. But aside from that, nothing more, nothing else. Diba? So, it's really something only you can answer, actually. But what about if I know how to play the violin, I want to shift to viola? Of course, because they're in the same family. Almost all the concepts are the same, except for a few things, especially in the bow and of course, the fingers because the viola is bigger, but it's more approachable than just guitar or whatever instrument outside of the string family. If you want to learn strings, no? The same thing with the. I think it's the same with brass. No? It's not that if you know how to play the trumpet, you know how to play the trombone. No, different concepts, uh, different approaches, different techniques. No, so it will require different uh, teaching style or different approach for it. So it's really up to your goals and what you want to achieve. You know? Of course, we're not forcing anyone here to enroll into music school or enroll in a teacher if they don't want to, but it's just facts. No, that's the truth. If you want to really be good at something, you have to invest something in it. No, find connections, find mentors, find people who can teach you. No, doesn't have to be professionally teaching. As long as you know that they know what they're doing. No? Because of course, some teachers are quite expensive, but you can't really haggle on prices of teachers because that's how they value themselves. And that's an important thing, especially here in our country. We tend to undervalue teachers because some people see that, okay, I can learn this on YouTube. I can learn this on Facebook. Somebody's giving up free tips. But if you really want to be better, you need the feedback. And if it's not only the feedback, it's the connection, the understanding that's coming with having your own teacher. And yeah, I've seen a lot of that happening, especially right now, because I've got a lot of students who want to learn the instrument but started out on their own, and we got to the point where they get better and faster just because they got a teacher. And it's really a proof that you really need one if you wanna be better at it. Now, again, we're not trying to force anyone. It will also depend on your goals. For example, your goal is to understand music theory because you want to go to college, okay? And then you want to learn the violin as well because you want to major in violin. Okay. So I think if that's your goal, and if you're like in high school or elementary, that's the time you really need to get a teacher as early as possible so that you get a better understanding of how music schools work. Because you'll be learning these things at an earlier age, no? But again, age is just a number. It will still depend on you, on how you approach the topic or how you approach learning. No? But if you're like, okay, you're working and you don't have time, but you just want to play on the side, then I guess online tutorials will work for you. Just don't expect to be good at it earlier. But again, we have different talents. We have different skill sets. So maybe if you're good at something, naturally good at it. But again, talent can only bring you so much. It will finish because your skills will need to develop as well. So those are the things you need to consider if you want to learn a musical instrument or music theory or anything actually. Diba? We're talking about having mentors or not. So bottom line is having a mentor will always beat playing or learning it on your own. So we'll end with this podcast. Again, this has been Usapang Musiko Season 2, Episode 7. So watch out for more content coming on your way. Please do follow me on my socials. Links on the description down below. And of course, check this out on Anchor Podcasts. Usapang Musiko, available in most streaming platforms. We're now on Spotify, Apple Music, and many more. So I hope you enjoyed this episode of Usapang Musiko. This is Ryan Monakil, and I'll see you on the next one.